Hi, Jumbo, bonjour, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. For those who are new to this channel, welcome. My name is Jeanette. I go by Lavie or Nurselavie. I am a registered nurse and also a nurse practitioner student. So on this channel, I talk mostly about nursing and healthcare and anything that has to do with those two topics. But for the next several months, I will share with you guys the rest of my journey as a nurse practitioner student. And soon you guys will get to see me graduate. So if you guys like to join the Lavie tribe, my tribe, hit the subscribe button down below and also hit the notification button so that way you would be the first one to know when I upload a new video once a week. So today's topic is about English being the second language and sometimes the third or the fourth language to many people and how that can be a danger to your health. I will be talking about my experiences as a registered nurse working in the hospital and dealing with people who do not speak English fluently, especially African people and Congolese people specifically. If you want to hear about what I have to say, please stay tuned. So we live in a society that has people from literally all over the world. People out here speak thousands of different languages. Most hospitals in the United States have spent a lot of money getting interpreters and interpreting services for people who do not speak English. So when someone from any country that comes to the hospital and they do not speak English, we always try to find the best interpreter possible, or if we don't have an interpreter, we get them an interpreting service. This is just to make sure that everyone gets the best care possible. So the process is actually very simple. When you go to the hospital, they normally ask you what language you speak. You say the language that you speak, you make it clear that you do not speak English, and they will try to get you an interpreter who speaks and understands that language. So that way you can have the best communication with your nurses and your doctors. So the issue with this and the reason for this video is when you have someone who comes from a country that speaks multiple languages. For instance, countries in Africa, some countries have more than 50 languages. I believe in my country, the Congo, we have more than 200 languages. And this can be a problem because people come to the hospital, they don't know necessarily what language to put down, so they put the most spoken language, which in the Congo is French. We were colonized by the Belgians, so we speak French, but we also have Lingala and a lot of local languages. So I've seen a lot of people come to the hospital who do not necessarily speak French, but they put down French as their first language or their main language. Even though African countries have more than 50 languages, each country has one or two languages that most of the majority of the population speaks. For most countries, it is French, English, Portuguese, Italian, or Spanish. The main three are English, French, and Portuguese. And this is because Africa was colonized by the Belgium, France, Britain, Spain, Italy, and Portugal. Like I said, the majority of the population in these countries speak these languages, but not everyone does. So when people from the rural areas or people who come from families that did not speak the Western language, when they come to the hospital in America, they say that they speak the Western language, even though they didn't grow up speaking that language. I believe that they say that because they're afraid that the hospital might not have their local language. So they say the closest thing that the hospital might have. But this can be very dangerous. And of course, the healthcare industry in America knows that Africa has many, many, many languages, and they cannot accommodate every single language or every single dialect. So they tend to get interpreters for the main ones. So this includes French, English, Portuguese, and Italian, and whatever other language that's mainly spoken. They don't have languages for dialects, for local languages. They don't have an interpreter for that. So for example, when someone from the rural parts of the Congo comes to the hospital, maybe they didn't grow up speaking French. They grew up speaking a local language, a local dialect from there. But when they come to the hospital in America, they put French down as their first language. That can be harmful to their health. It can create a lot of problems between them, the healthcare providers, and the interpreter. I cannot say how many times I've taken care of people from the Congo who have been in the hospital for 2-3 days but did not know why they were in the hospital, what the doctors have been telling them, what the nurses have been doing to them. They have no idea. Why? Because when they came into the hospital, they said that French was their first language, but it really wasn't. So they got them a French interpreter, and then when an interpreter is on the phone or is in person asking them questions or telling them what the doctor or the nurses are saying, they don't understand a lot of things. They miss a lot of information that is important to their health. If you come to the hospital and you're, let's say for instance, you're from Kivu and what you're used to speak is Kiswahili or Kivira or Kifulero or Kibembe, it is okay for you to tell the healthcare providers that you speak that language. Even if we do not have an interpreter for those languages, we are legally permitted. With your permission, we can call anybody that you want us to call who can interpret. This can be, we want someone who understands English very well. So this can be your pastor, your lawyer, your boss, your relatives. It could be anyone. With your permission, we can make sure that we are communicating in the best language that you speak. So when you come to the hospital, don't always say that French or English or Portuguese or Italian is your first language just because it is the official language. Because the official language doesn't mean that it is your first language. Does that make sense? I've seen people who almost signed papers to have surgeries or procedures that they didn't understand what it was for. They didn't even completely agree to the procedures, but they were nodding their heads when their interpreter was telling them the things that the doctors were explaining. Just FYI, for your information, you should never ever sign a paper or consent form for something that you do not completely understand. It doesn't matter if you're in the hospital or if you're out in public in the real world. If you're gonna sign something, make sure you understand it. The person that you're dealing with, you can always tell them to call a relative or a pastor or a lawyer, like I mentioned before, or anybody that can help you translate or interpret whatever you're about to sign. There's so many papers to sign in the hospital for surgeries, procedures, for blood. I had a lady who signed a consent to get blood, and when I came in the room with blood in my hands and I was about to give it to her through the IV, she was surprised, she was shocked, and didn't understand why she was getting the blood. And when I reminded her that she signed a paper agreeing to getting blood, she was just blank. She didn't understand. She said she just signed it but she didn't really know what she was signing. Do you understand how that can be dangerous? What if I'm about to give you blood, but really let's say you had a reaction to blood at some point in your life, and you were not able to communicate that because you didn't have the right interpreter for the right language. Do you know how blood transfusion can kill you? Medications, they can kill you. Surgery, you can get your leg cut off because you didn't understand what the doctor was telling you or the nurse was telling you, but you just went along and nodded to everything. They tell you something, you say yes. They give you a paper, you sign. even if you don't understand. That's a very dangerous practice that I am encouraging my Africans and Congolese people and a lot of people that, go through this. I'm encouraging you to always ask for more help, to always ask for a language that you are comfortable speaking. Don't be afraid or ashamed or shy to ask for help. You should always communicate your fears, especially when you don't speak the language. Sometimes we speak the language, we think we understand enough, but when it comes to healthcare, even people that speak English, even Americans don't understand what goes on when they go in the hospital. They don't understand all the medical terms that the doctors and the nurses throw at them. So imagine you whose language, whose English is very limited, you're gonna have a harder time understanding what's going on with your health. That's why you should always be quick to ask for more help. You should be quick to ask for an interpreter, quick to ask questions and clarification before you sign anything, especially. Even when it comes to things like medications, you might be in the hospital because, let's say you have high blood pressure, but then the doctor saw that your cholesterol was high, so they're giving you a new medication that you've never had before. It's for cholesterol. But you might not know that. You're just taking these medications thinking, well, the nurse is giving it to me. The doctor said I should take it, so let me just take it. No, you should ask for clarification. You should ask for an interpreter who can clearly tell you what you're taking and why you're taking it. So just to summarize everything, if you do not speak English or do not speak any of the main languages that, the world speaks, and all you can speak is a dialect or a local language, it is okay for you to tell your doctor or your nurse or your pharmacist that you do not speak these languages, and then tell them which language that you speak, the language that you're most comfortable speaking. So that way they can see what kind of help to get you. And if they cannot get anyone in the hospital, there's always a way. There's always a way to find someone who can help you, who can interpret for you. That is better than just pretending you understand a language that you do not fully understand. So if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, please comment down below. Also, if you have any topic that you want me to talk about, feel free to put it down there too. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.